So, before we start off the lesson plan, let's start off with the joke. So, question, how many Keynesian economics does it take to change a light bulb? I got an answer. Okay, so all of them because they would generate employment, more consumption, dislocate the aggregate demand line to the right. So one thing you need to know about Keynesian economists are they believe that the economy is never in whenever it needs help, the government should always step in, which is a complete contradiction to what the Say's laws say. So these are somewhat two conflicting ideologies. Now you might need to know the Keynesian and the Say's law for the AP exam, as it might come up in as a question about definitions and such. And let's get into the lesson plan.
So today we'll be talking about the circular flow diagram, and essentially what a circular flow diagram is, it shows how the money goes around in the economy and who contributes to the economy. That's basically the whole thing. And so this shows the players of the economy, such as the bank, the household, the business firms, and the factory, and which is what produces the things needed for the final product. And so this is known as a circular flow diagram, and it shows, well, here are all the players of the economy: the households, the financial market, factor market, business firms, government, and the product market, which is where all the final products are sold. And so here is a flow diagram of what one player sends to another in exchange for another item. And if we're looking at the point of the households, between the households and the factor market, the households provide land and labor in exchange for rent and wages. This means working for a company or selling or renting their land, and in exchange they get rent. And so if we look between the households and the product market, you could see the product market gives the households goods and services in exchange for household consumptions, which is essentially just money. And if you look between households and financial market, the households put their savings into the banks in exchange for interest. And if you look at the households and the government, we see that we pay tax, the households, that is us, and in exchange for services, government services. And if we look at things in the perspective of the factor market, we already talked about the relationship between the households and the factor market. And if we look between the firms and the factor market, we see that the factor market provides factors of production for the final product to the firms in exchange for money, business costs. And if we look between the firms and the firms in the financial market, the firms provide, they don't provide, they get money from the bank's loans, and in exchange they pay interest and how much they actually took out from the bank. If we look between the firms and the government, we see that the firms pay tax in exchange for services. And if we look between the financial market and the government, we see that the financial market gave us money to the government to borrow in exchange for interest. So they get money for loaning out money to the government. If you look between the government and the product market, we see that the government receives products in exchange for spending. Now, one key thing to remember is a word called expenditures, and essentially it means just government spendings, but you'll see that on the AP exam. If we look between the product market and the firms provides goods and services to the product market, this is where it's finally sold, in exchange for business revenue. So whatever they make goes to the firms. If you look between the product market and the rest of the world, we see that the product market gives out exports and takes in imports. Now, exports are things made in the country and it's sold to other countries, and imports are stuff we buy or our country buys from other countries because it might be cheaper. And between the rest of the world and the financial market, it's essentially just stock sales and stock investing in stocks and making interest off stocks. That's basically the key thing you need to know between the relationship between the rest of the world, and the financial market. And that is about it for this video. And if you have any questions, just leave it in the comments. Thank you.